Here's how to factor a quadratic trinomial. We're going to go ahead and start by using the x factor. The x factor is something I use to organize my information. In the top, I'm going to write a times c, and in the bottom, I'm going to write b plus. We're not going to do anything with the plus, but it is going to be a tool to help me remember something later on, and that we will go over. So a is the term always in front of x squared. B is always the term in front of x, and C is always the number that's being added or subtracted in the end. In this particular example, this is a very basic example. The number in front of x squared, which is a, there's nothing. So we automatically assume it's a 1. So we're going to multiply 1 by negative 18. That is going to give us negative 18, because you multiply 1 by anything, obviously you get the same number. Your b value is always in front of x, and that's 7. So what we're going to do now is we're going to solve a puzzle. We're going to solve a puzzle. What two numbers multiply, that's why we have a times symbol here, multiply to get negative 18, but add to get 7. That's what that plus is there for. It's reminding us we're adding to get 7. So if we're multiplying two numbers to get negative 18, and those same two numbers have to add to get 7, you have to figure out what numbers do that. If you can't think of the number off the top of your head, what I recommend is you go ahead and write some factors. So I'm going to write some factors of 18 up here just so I can figure this out. So there's 1 times 18. Those do not add or subtract to get 7. Then there's 2 times 9. They don't add to get 7, but notice how we have a negative here. So they may subtract in order to get 7. So if I make this a positive 9 and a negative 2, that will add to get 7. So here we have 9, negative 2. Let me double check my answer. 9 times negative 2 is negative 18. 9 plus negative 2, that's the same thing as 9 minus 2, is 7. So this is the answer to my x factor. And I'm going to go ahead and use that to help me factor this quadratic. So the next step, and this is a slightly different way of doing it. Most teachers will teach you by using guess and check. I actually like to use a procedure because guess and check can get kind of confusing. So I use the box method, but reverse. So in another video, I talked about how we use the box method to multiply, and we take the factors on the outside and you multiply it to get what's on the inside. Sorry about that, we just had an announcement. So I left off by telling you before we multiplied the numbers on the outsides to get the numbers on the inside. But because we're working backwards, factoring is the opposite of distributing. We're going to start by putting things on the inside of the box. So here's how it works. We take our first number, that's 1x squared or just x squared, and we put it in the first box. We take our last number, negative 18, and we put it in the last box. Then we take the numbers that we found from the x factor, the 9 and negative 2. Those are x values because when we add those together, we're supposed to get 7. Here it is 7x. So when we add these together, we should get 7x. This is 9x and this is negative 2x. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in these boxes. The cool thing about this is it does not matter where you put them as long as you put them in the boxes. So the order does not matter. So I'll go ahead and put 9x here and negative 2x here. Now here's the part where we work backwards. What we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and write numbers on the outside. We're going to factor numbers out. So looking this way, I'm going to factor two numbers out of here, or a number out of here, and put it on the outside. So what number or variable can divide into x squared and 9x? It should be x. X can go into x squared, and x can go into 9. So I'm going to put x on the outside here. Here's another way to do it once you have a number on the outside. You know that the number here and the number here have to multiply to get the number here. So x times what is x squared? Your answer is going to be x. X times x is x squared. You can do the same thing here if you like. You can say x times what gives me negative 2x. And you can think, oh, that's not too bad here. That's a negative 2. But if you want to go back to the original way that I showed you, looking at these two numbers right here, What is the greatest common factor? What number or variables can I factor out? Well, the only thing they have in common are the numbers because this does not have a variable. So the only number that can go into 9 and negative 18 is positive 9. So here what we have on the outside, we have our factors. Our factors are x and positive 9 multiplied by x minus 2. This is our answer factored. The only way to check your answer is to go ahead and FOIL it or distribute it or use the box method, and if you get the original answer, then it is correct.